there, yarn lovers, it's Gary and I'm coming to you from my happy place, the Yarn Corner here on Vancouver Island in Canada. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is Sunday, October the 22nd, 2023. How are you all doing? I hope you're well and you've been keeping busy over this fall season. If you are living in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're probably enjoying sort of like the warming up of the weather and spring season. Yeah, so I was looking down at my notes here and collecting all of my information that I want to present today. And it's over the course of the last 2 weeks, I've been crafting to the wee hours of the morning because it has been a busy life here in our household. I live here with my husband Chad and our little puppy Pixel, who is almost 7 months old. And I will be updating on little stories here and there at the end of the video. So all the crafting goodies will be up front for you to enjoy. And if you want to stick around for all the life events that have been going on here, then please do. If you're happening across this channel for the very first time, I've set it up to talk about all of my yarn crafting, that is in knitting, crocheting. I do dabble in a little bit of yarn dyeing. I talk about my acquisitions, where I purchase my yarn and my crafting tools from. And if that's of interest to you, please stick around and think about subscribing. So I want to also welcome back all of the people who have recently just joined our little community here, as well as those who have been around for a while. I've been loving all of the comments that you've been leaving me in the last few videos. I showcased a couple of unboxings of yarn and you told me that you've used it, the yarn that I presented as well, and what styles or patterns that you were working on. So I really appreciate that. So thank you so much. Starting this channel was a little bit of me just investigating how to do journaling, video through videos on my crafting. And I thought, well, I might as well try and upload this and start a community where I can talk about crafting and we can share ideas and get inspired by each other. So I want to say thank you because this journey has been a great one here on YouTube for me. So yeah, let's kick into what I've got to share with you today. So before I do, I should talk about what Hank's my man form, what he's wearing and what I'm wearing. So Hank is wearing a knitted brioche experiment that I was doing. It doesn't follow a pattern. I did come up with this free form and I've called it the nesting brioche cowl. And I absolutely loved working with this and doing a little bit of stranded color work as well as brioche. So it sort of all undulates and sort of compacts in one inside of each other. So I really like the ringlets kind of get smaller and smaller. And I love that. What I'm wearing here is also a knitted garment, and this is the Fitzgerald by Jane Ellison, I believe her name is. Any of the patterns that I have for you, I will leave in the description box, which is down below. And if you've got any inquiries or are interested to investigate further into patterns or other YouTubers that I mentioned, then that's the place to go to get more information. Or you can also email me if you want to reach out and ask me any questions about the show that I'm presenting, all these items. You can contact me through urbanyarn101@gmail.com. So this is where I got the Fitzgerald from, and it's Noro Knits by Jane Ellison. That's how you spell her name there. And this is what the pattern looks like. And I didn't use Noro yarn. I used a substitute, which is a more affordable value yarn from Cascade called Tangier, and I believe I used 3 different colorways, and I just recently found all the scraps, which I will show you in this video what I'm going to do with to use up all the leftover yarn. And yeah, so now we're going to talk about what I've been working on and what I finished over the last 2 weeks, starting with because we're talking about brioche and Hank is wearing a brioche item, I've discovered another form of I guess increasing for me in brioche. It's my learn, and I was familiar with having to do brioche worked in the round or worked as a flat panel, but I was kind of just doing straight brioche. I wasn't doing any fancy kind of decreasing or increasing, but I found a pattern that really challenged me in learning a little bit more. So here it is here. And this is brioche, where I am using the pattern called Bubbly, and it's by a, let me just see, the designer's name is Julie Dubreux. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's Julie Knits in Paris, and that's the pattern there. So it's a 2-color brioche beanie, and I kind of used a little bit more yarn than was suggested in the pattern. There's only the one size, I believe, and this is the size that it creates. So if it becomes bigger like it is here, it will be more of a slouchy beanie, but if you've got more of a tighter gauge, you would probably get more form-fitted results. But what do you think? They almost look like little buds of flowers, or perhaps maybe ringlets of light around. If you chose the right color combination, they could almost look like a starry night if you had a navy blue background with some yellows as the pronounced bits here in the brioche. I just love it. So that's the decreasing at the top. And it's super duper squishy and wonderful. So I will try it on for you, and you can see right now, because of my loose gauge, it's sort of a little slouchy. It's sort of between a slouchy and a well-fitted snug beanie. You can put a pom-pom on the end or the other side of it, but I kind of liked it the way it looked, so I'm leaving it without the pom-pom. Again, that's the Bubbly. It's a paid for pattern, and to tell you a little bit about the pattern as well, it's in the written form, and there's also a chart as well to follow if you prefer to work from a chart. I found it quite easy to read through. It's well written, and there is a description on how to do the decreasing and increasing, which is valuable. And I kind of followed up with a tutorial as well on YouTube to learn how to do the 5-stitch, or the, what is it, a four increase in the 1 stitch to make 5 stitches. And that was valuable, that tutorial too. If I recall which one I used, I'll also include that down below in the description in the show notes. So yarn, what yarn did I use and what needles? So let's have a look here. What the pattern, I followed the pattern's suggestion for needle size, and I use a 4mm circular on a, what was it? I think it was a 16-inch stainless steel chargu set. I used my interchangeable set, and that worked through nicely in the design. You also need to use double pointed needles for the closing at the end, which I think I went down a size because I was discovering that my tension was quite loose. So I believe my double pointed needles were 3mm to close off the end of the make. I also use a cable needle here, which I believe is the same gauge. It's a 4mm to suit the pattern. But I find that because I don't really knit from this, it just holds the stitches. It could be any kind of safety cap securing mechanism that holds the live stitches away from your work, so that you can, you know, either work in the front or the back with the live stitches on. So it didn't really matter what type of size the cable needle was. The yarn that I used was a combination of 3 yarns. I had a DK weight yarn from Aracunia, and I purchased this from Little Knits, and it came in a bag of 5 hanks 50-gram hanks, and it was kind of a mystery bundle, and they were selling them for a really good price. So I thought, yeah, I'm gonna grab a set of these hand-painted wool. It's called Grace Wool series. It doesn't have a colorway name, but there are all the details if you want to take a screen grab of the yarn. And the other two colors that I really liked to intermingle with this darker Anacunia yarn, which is this color here, I had in sock and sport weight. So I held these two together to get the contrast colors, which created these circular buds and bubbles. So those are two types of yarn. This one is the Hobby Alpaca Silk, and I believe this color is 17. And this one here is the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn from the Exquisite collection. And this one is a fingering weight yarn. I'm not sure where the ball band is. Oh, it's actually inside. Let's take a look at this yarn here. There it is. That's the brand of yarn. And it's called Bayswater, the colorway. If you need the number, it's 318. I used this in my Stephen West Twists and Turns from 2022, the Mystery Make-Along, and I have this much left of it. So I'm going to be putting this yarn into different projects because I love the quality of it, and it works up really nicely in knit. I haven't tried it in crochet yet, so that might be something I might attempt to do. Moving back along to talk about the yarn from Little Knits that I got, the hand-painted Anacunia Grace Wool yarn. Some other colors that I got, so you can see how it looks when it's in its hank form. This obviously is in a different colorway, but really super duper soft, and it is a single ply with halo on it and a wonderful sheen. What I found nice about this type of yarn is even though it has halo, it's not a sticky yarn. So when separating, when needed, or dividing this yarn up with your needles, they didn't grab hold of other strands of yarn. So it was quite an easy and wonderful yarn to work with, because a lot of halo yarns I find do create stickiness, and sometimes if you're needing to separate or put your needle through 2 or 3 and only drop the 1 or 2 stitches in the type of stitch that you're working, they tend to kind of like grab hold of each other, and it's hard like Velcro to separate them and make sure that what needs to stay on the active needle and what needs to drop. So I find that this yarn was wonderful to work with, and it's really soft. So another thing that I did with that yarn, because I had 5 in the series that I had purchased, was I made another beanie here as well a while back, and this bronzy coppery color here, that was also the Anacunia, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, yarn. So it actually works as a nice framing style yarn as well, and I love this pattern here. This has some alterations to it. This pattern is called the Uljhan Entanglement Beanie. I'm probably mispronouncing Uljhan, but that's it there. Uljhan Entanglement Beanie, and it is by Shweta Shankar Khatri. I'm probably butchering that name, so I do apologize. It's just down here below. This is a free pattern that I found online, so I will link this one down as well in the description box. But some alterations were made to this version on the crown. I felt the crown actually decreased too rapidly. So when you take it off the form, I wanted to make it so that you could lay the hat down flat or relatively flat without it having a big bow in it, and with the pattern done to the way that it was described to be done, with the close off or the decreasing at the end. There was a huge decrease all at once, and the hat didn't lay flat. So yeah, I really enjoyed knitting both of these. I think I probably will do a few more of this bubbly and choose different colors, try out different yarns, because I want to have the ability to retain all the learns in this for creating increasing and decreasing in brioche. Yeah, so super excited about how this one turned out. I'm going to take it off because it is quite warm and fuzzy with all that alpaca in there, and again, love it. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is a finished item. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you've seen me working and talking about this pattern for I'm going to say a good 3 months. Let's close that. And it is my Nature's Walk squares that I created, and this one were leftovers of my blanket, and I wanted to make a something out of the leftover squares that didn't make the blanket, so I made a cushion, and it's finished. There's the lacy work around the border, and what I had done was I joined the 9 here together with the same join stitch as what's recommended in the guidelines of the pattern Nature's Walk blanket, and I reversed it, and the second panel was also stitched together using up these motifs in this color selection, and then I did the bordering and joined the two together with a little exit way here for pulling out the cushion, and you can give this a wash, or to protect the I guess cleaning the actual product itself. And if you wanted to change out the cushion or whatever, you could do that with taking it out of the hole that's up here. So yeah, and I really like both colors, color arrangements. So depending on the decor of the room, this facing cushion way could represent sort of a spring decor, and this one here could be more of a fall decor. Yeah, absolutely enjoyed doing that. And I used all DK weight yarns in the squares from various economic and value yarns, and I loved working with all the different styles and brands. It taught me a lot about what's out there and which brands I prefer over others for certain projects, which brands of economic DK weight were more springy, what were more dry and sort of stiff, which ones had more halo or a nice tight stitch. So twist. So I kind of like was a lesson for me to learn a little bit more what's out there and what kind of call to action I need to take if I'm working on a project, what yarn brands to grab at for projects. The border here was done in a sport weight yarn. It was not a DK weight yarn, and it was from Hirschner's, the 2-ply classic Afghan yarn, and the color that I used was oat. I really enjoyed working with this. It was slightly splitty, only because I was working in such tight stitches for joining the squares together, and then that lacy border work as well. So my hook size was a 3.5 millimeter. It was a little splitty, but if I was careful with my hook kind of movements and cleared the wraparounds, I found that I was okay with this yarn, and I got a whole bunch of it too. So in different colors. I'm thinking of with my next Nature's Walk using the same for my borders and my joins in a different color. Just to showcase what the pattern looks like, it is partly free. So this is the Nature Walk by Sandra Paul, and it's free on Ravelry. I'll link you the area where you can find it, and it offers up 6 of the motifs for each of these squares, and it instructs you how to join them, as well as the border, the lacy border. The other section that's paid for is bonus squares. So you get 6 bonus squares for, I thought it was a great price, and I'll link that to down below as well. And it's the same creator, Sandra Paul, for both versions. So the free version and the bonus bundle version. So I thought maybe what I'd talk about today was forms that you can purchase either from a department store or a online store. And I got my pillow cushion forms from my mother-in-law, so she sent me a whole bunch of these different size forms, and so I'm going to be making a few more cushion covers. But thank you so much for these wonderful cushions. And what I did with the one that I finished from the Nature's Walk was I just bought inexpensive pillowcase slips. So this one is a king size one, and I've washed them because they were smelling a little vinegary, brand new from the package. And I picked this up from Walmart I got 2 in the set. One is in the pillowcase already, and I just slipped it over my form, and then I slipped all of this into the cushion cover. So it's kind of a double protector on the cushion itself as well, so that no spills or dirt go onto the actual pillow itself, that you've got something protecting it. And the nice part about it is that you can choose different color slips. If you want, say you've got open lace work for your crochet or your knitting, and you want to see through the pattern that it's creating, you can choose a darker slip to put your cushion cover in, or your cushion in, and then put your lace work over the top so that it pronounces all of the lace work. I really like that, so I'll probably have some fun with the remainder of these cushions. Let's talk about those whips that kind of linger and they take a time out, or perhaps maybe you need to think about them for a bit. So I have one here that's been with me for, I'm going to say, a good 4 or 5 months now, and it is one that I got inspired to relook at and visit from I think maybe a week and a half ago. I picked it up again. I thought I really want to, keep going on this, and I found a mistake in it. That's why I put it away, and I was wondering whether I would drop down stitches to fix it up, or whether I would pull it back and just re-knit a section. So I ended up pulling back slightly and re-knitting, and it's a cable. It's going to be a sweater vest, cable sweater vest with a hoodie. And this is what I've got so far. I believe last time I showed you, I had done 2 of the Celtic cables. So I had done it up to here, and now I've just finished my 3rd one. And I'm getting through probably 2 repeats of the Celtic cable with 1 hank. And I think I'll need to do 3 hanks, so I get 6 of the Celtic cables going up, and then I can maybe do the neck part, and hopefully it'll only take me another 2 hanks to do the hoodie. So that's my yarn management that I'm thinking, because I only have the 5 of this variety of yarn to use, and it was a generous gift by Crystal over at Bag a Day. But I'm going to get through this. There is a little bit of a change up of color here where the colors are kind of undulating up to this point, and that's where I changed the color, and so it's introducing the color in a different way, but I don't mind that. It'll probably repeat now with the second hank that I'm on in this formation, but there'll be a break here that has a bit of a difference. Yeah, and it's the same on both sides. I'm copying the Celtic cable in the middle here, doing elongated stitch, which is seed stitch, sorry, and then I'm doing a honeycomb cabling, and the sides are a combination of a woven basket stitch as well as a 1x1, sort of alternating. So yeah, and that's the reverse side's the same. But I really like it. And the yarn that I'm using is from Croft. I believe it's a, what's the Croft? Is that West Yorkshire Spinners? Let me look. Yeah, West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft, and the colorway is called Rolling Hills, or if you need the number, it's 793. And with that, I am using a similar cable needle to the hat that I did, the Bubbly hat, and this one is a bit thicker. That's a 5mm. Again, there's no need to refer to the gauge or the circumference of the needle, because I just use them to secure live stitches. Quite a nice springy yarn, and it has some give to it, which is a lovely yarn. I love it. I love it a lot. It's quite woolly. I'm going to say, if I've got a soft factor rating of it, out of 5 being the softest, it's probably, I'm going to say it's a 2.5 for softness. So you would need to wear something between your skin and this rustic yarn. And that will probably be a slow burn as well, occasionally coming out and making appearances here on the channel, just to show that, you know, the progress and if I've encountered any more issues with it. Now, that's not to a pattern. I've written notes in my journal, my knitting journal, about what I wanted to achieve with the garment and what styles of stitches I wanted to use. And there is the Celtic cable that I'm using in my work, and I'm getting it from this pattern here. It's a free pattern online. This one was bought out by, hang on, let's have a look. Celtic Square Saxon cable. Is there a person who did this? It's not written on here. Actually, there's no accreditation at all. I will find who this free pattern needs to be credited to, and I'll leave it down in the description box below. The next work in progress I'm going to talk about was an inspired work from a viewer, Valerie. Hi, Valerie. A couple of months ago, I mentioned in a video that I was looking to do a modular project out of my pickle jar, which is a jar of mini hand-dyed yarns in a glass jar that I purchased from Aberdeen's Wool. I believe there's 60 in a glass jar. And I wanted to do something modular and create a blanket. So Valerie had the idea, and she had created this beautiful hexagon blanket, all joined with all of her minis that she used in her pickle jar. So she sent me inspiration through the email and said, hey, this is what I've created. What do you think? The join's a little difficult, but maybe give it a go and see how you go. So I thought, what a great idea. I loved the finished work that she showed me. It was colorful, it was textural. I loved everything about it, and I wanted definitely try it out with my pickle jar. But before I do, I'm going to jump in and try it first with DK weight yarn on the various projects that I've been working on. I have leftovers. So I found these vases in the kitchen, and I'm just thinking that they're the perfect circumference to hold all of my hexies that I'm making. And I don't know whether I can show you this, but they're around 2.5 inches in width and in height. So not huge, but they're very small and textural. I like them a lot. They kind of remind me a bit of the lotus plant when you see the pods that kind of dry up and they create these beautiful little seedlets, or in an array, like a circular form. I think that's going to work out really well. So I've used up my hobby cookie in the colorway mustard. I had a little bit left over, and I think I got out of that maybe around 20 different little hexies I'm putting in there. I'm starting my next one here, which is more of the purpley cool colors and grays, and that's also from a DK weight yarn. I know that the cookie, they say classify it as a 5 weight, but it's not a 5 weight. It's actually very parallel to what I'm using up with the other DK. And I'm using a 3.75 millimeter crochet hook, just the all metal Susan Bates. This is what I have left in the Peyton Sierra in that purpley blue and gray colorway. And this is in the collection called Sierra. I absolutely love this yarn. It's very reminiscent of like a cookie yarn, also the Red Heart Moulage, or a Ferris wheel yarn, which is from Lime Brands. So I'm making my way through that. Just it'll be a slow cook kind of project where it's on the back burner sometimes. If I have downtime, I'll be, picking up some hanks that are partial hanks or that are leftovers from projects, and I'll just be burning through them so that I'll make my hexies. And that's what brings me to talk about the bag of leftovers from this make here. I just found a whole bunch of them, and I think that the colorways will work really nicely in with the browns, purples, blues, and grays. And in the bag that I found, it was all in this project bag from the Dabbling Hook. That's Ral's beautiful handiwork. I purchased that from her Etsy store. I want to use the bag. So it had a yoke in crochet, and I never finished the project. So I'm going to unravel it and use this, because it's a yoke, and use this yarn in that hexie blanket. So yeah, what do you think? Should I go ahead and unravel it? I think so. Although it is an interesting work. I'd like to hear your comments. Please let me know. So that finishes up what I have to talk about in my crafting over the last 2 weeks. I hope that you enjoyed the content, and I'm going to shift gears now and catch you up on what's been going on with us here in our community over the last little while. So I have some notes here so I don't forget. I've got some recommendations as well on things that we've been watching. And okay, so the first one, because everyone has been asking about Pixel, there's been lots of comments in the last few videos that haven't seen her, so I'm going to indulge and put some puppy paraphernalia in here as well. But we've been focusing a lot on training still, and we've continued on with a class. We have finished the puppy class with, which I think went for 6 weeks. Now we're into a class called the intermediate class, and it's a lot of fun seeing Pixel get so rowdy with all the other puppies in a small enclosure in the area where they do the dog training. It's quite a tight space and it's indoors, so there's lots of barking and there's lots of pulling on the leash and all that sort of stuff. But She's slowly learning. She does better when we're on a one-to-one, or it's just me and Chad walking her and doing the drills. And Chad's great at doing all of the lessons and the training. I think she has a better time with the lessons with Chad. He's very focused, and she's not food driven, but she does like a treat and a reward through a treat when she does something good. So we've been doing a lot of that with her on her walks, and I've got some footage that I'll tag in at the end of some of the walks that we've done with her. Okay, here we did have some nice quiet time at the cabin, and Chad and I, Pixel, we were looking after Chad's parents' dog, who's Muggins, and they were away for a weekend, and we had really nice quiet time at the cabin playing board games, which we hadn't done in a long time. So we played things like Wingspan, card games, and also Sequence, just to name a few. But one of the recent new purchases that we made, I'm going to say within the last 6 months, was a board game called Patchwork. So if you have if you want to play like a two-person game with which lasts for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, Patchwork is a really interesting and visually beautiful game to play. So I'm going to suggest that as something to be you know, kind of in a setting where you want to just sort of enjoy each other's company and sort of not have to focus too much on the game's strategy, because it is quite an easy game to play. So you can talk and you can listen to music as well, which is a nice game, style of game to have on hand if that's the type of thing that you want to do. We also had Thanksgiving in Canada here 2 weeks ago, and I think my recording that I dropped last was prior to that. So let me tell you a little bit about Pixel and her ferry ride. She went on the first ferry to Vancouver, so she came off the island for the very first time, which was fun for her. I think she's a country girl throughout, really. There's too much going on in the city, too many noises and smells and too much activity. So, but going back to enjoying family time in Vancouver was great. We saw our little nieces, which they're growing so quickly, and we enjoyed wonderful turkey dinner that Chad's brother's family had prepared for us. And yeah, so we were like very interested in all of the animatronics and all of the blow up stuff that the family was gearing up and decorating the house for Halloween, which is happening in a week and a bit. So I've got some footage of that as well, because they really compete with being the most spookiest house on the block. And I thought that some of the sampling that we got was really well done. So I'm going to include the footage there as well as some of the animatronics. Yeah, so what's everyone doing for Halloween? Because it's coming up. I have been invited to do bingo with Fiber Hustle. The guys, Chip and Aaron at Fiber Hustle, they generally put on 3 or 4 times of the year a bingo event, and Halloween is one of them. So I'm very eager to see whether I have success with filling out my bingo card and seeing everyone's costumes and settings that they put their I guess their rooms in. So I have to think about what kind of costume I'm going to be wearing for that too. And that's coming up, I believe, next weekend. Really looking forward to that. And that brings me to talk about what I've been watching on television while I've been stitching and crafting away. Perhaps maybe some of these might be good suggestions for you. Maybe you've watched them already. I'd love to hear your opinions on the 2 things that I have here to talk about. So the first one is on Apple TV. There is a series called The Morning News, or The Morning Show. I can't remember. It stars Jennifer Anderson and Reese Witherspoon. And I'll read you a small synopsis, but we're on season 3. It's just begun, and they will release season 3 each week. There will be a new episode until the season is over, and we're really enjoying it. it's season 3 is all about the future of the network is thrown into question, and loyalties are pushed to the brink when a tech tycoon takes an interest in UBA, which is the network channel that the two work for. That's Jennifer Anderson and Reese Witherspoon's characters. Unexpected alliances form, private truths are weaponized, and everyone is forced to confront their core values both in and out of the newsroom. So that's the synopsis from Apple TV themselves about the show, and I really like the dynamics between all of the characters. Sometimes they park a story for a couple of episodes and they focus on other vignettes, and then they'll come back to kind of catch you up on what's going on with the other vignette stories along the way. So it's kind of an interesting timeline that you're watching, seeing sort of old stuff and then new stuff, and it's really great. It's well written, and I like that their news broadcasts are typical of real life events that have happened, and they just take their spin on it and add it into the story. It's a fictional story to begin with, but sometimes these news broadcasts are actually true live events that have passed. The next one I have is called Bear, and that's also on Apple TV in Canada. Both these shows may be found elsewhere on different networks, depending on what part of the world you live in. But for us in Canada, Apple TV supply both the morning show or morning news. Well, I think it's called Morning Show, and Bear. So Bear is all about a chef, and this is the synopsis on Bear. I believe they're on season 2 right now, and so it stars Jeremy Allen White as a young award-winning chef who returns to his hometown of Chicago to manage the chaotic kitchen at his deceased brother's sandwich shop. And it took me about 2 or 3 episodes to get into it because of the language and the high energy, and I guess the feeling of the kitchen being more of an abusive kind of work environment or toxic work environment. I wasn't enjoying it, and it seemed to be constantly throughout the first couple of episodes. So after it got pulled away from that heavy content that was happening in the kitchen, and focused a little bit more of the downtime outside of the kitchen, I started to enjoy the story behind it. So if you're interested in giving something a bit of a go, maybe 3 episodes into it, and if you're still not enjoying it, then perhaps maybe it's not for you. But I did like the content about how this story is unfolding. There's a lot of hidden things still from us, and we're slowly learning along the way what's happened in the past to this family and to this chef. And yeah, I guess more to come on that one as well. But the Bear has some strong content in language, and so just to mark that up front, that you'll probably be warned where whenever you start one of these recommended movies or series that I'm recommending, they'll probably flag all that stuff anyway up front. So just to let you know, and that actually catches me up on everything. I hope that you enjoyed the episode. I want to know what you're doing over your Halloween, whether you've got any plans. Are there parties? Do you make your own costumes? Do you craft them? Let me know what you're doing for your trick-or-treating, if you hand out treats, or whether you go for a walk around your neighborhood with your family. And tell me what you've been watching as well. If you've seen the shows that I recommended, let me know what you thought of them, or if you've got any suggestions. I'm always up to find out what other shows are out there that are of good quality, good writing, provoke some thought, maybe just to entertain as well, and not really sort of like are so involved or intrinsic or too complicated to watch. I like it all. So ask away if you have any questions as well, and I hope to answer them to the best of my ability. And I will see you in the next show. Bye for now.